Uh, as I began today's sermon today, I want to share the sad news that happened on the other side of our global village. As many of you know, Russia invaded Ukraine at 5 a.m. on the 24th February, and many buildings in Ukraine were destroyed, and hundreds of lives were lost due to the missile attack by Russia. A few weeks before the war, Russia had deployed 150,000 troops to the Ukraine border area, pretending they were in training, but eventually launched an invasion. The reason for the war was to protect the Russia citizens in Donbas, a pro-Russia rebel zone in Ukraine territory. However, they went beyond the local operations in the Donbas region and attacked the whole Ukraine ground. It is very sad news. We need to pray for our global village. Friends, it is very sad that wars happen for any reason. Thousands of children and civilians are killed, and it is a massive blow to the country. Ukraine, a member of NATO, has requested military assistance from the United States and other countries, but the whole world is concerned that this situation will turn into a world war. So we need to pray for this situation. You should not think that this is simply a matter of another country on the other side of the globe. The reason is, first, everything is in global village is organically connected. This is because the news of the war already affects the price of gasoline. And our sons and daughters should go to the battlefield. We must pray for Ukraine and our sons and daughters. I hope that we can pray that the war will not escalate any longer and end soon. Please also pray for no more victims of children and civilians. Okay. Today we will share a very mysterious, special story of the Bible. As we read the Bible, there are very realistic, interesting, and sometimes magical stories. When we read the words of Jesus healing the sick people, we have a very special and mystical feelings. I've never been there, but people who have been to the Grand Canyon for the first time, they say they share a common feeling of mystery and fear when looking at the tall and wide canyon. Are you agree with me? Actually, I don't have any experience about that, but I know most of our church members has the experience. It is a mystery and fear coexist. But I had a similar experience the first time I went to Niagara Falls. At that time, I was overwhelmed by the sound and size of a majestic waterfall, and I felt a sense of fear at the tremendous water moving. Today's verse is a story about the mystery. Jesus was preparing to suffer on the cross. So Jesus prayed to God 2 times to preparing the way of cross. So it is the first time to praying on the mountain. The preparation was nothing else. It was just simply accepting God's will, calmly and waiting for the time to come. Now, today's Bible told us 8 8 days has passed since Jesus told his disciples about Jesus' death and resurrection. In today's text, Jesus took only Peter, John, and James, the 3 disciples, and went up to the mountain to pray together. When rising, the dead daughter of Jairus, the ruler of the synagogue, when praying in Gethsemane, Jesus was with them at the most important moments. So we can guess that the day it is the first praying in mountain, today's Bible verse, probably one of the important days for Jesus. When I was a child, my mother often climbed the mountain to pray with me. At that time, many Christians in South Korea went up to the mountain. In particular, my mom and I climbed the mountain at dawn. Although I was young, I loved to climb the mountain with my mother. There were many prayer caves in the mountain where they could pray. It was a cozy space to pray and block the cold wind. When we entered the prayer cave, I waited by my mother's side while she prayed, and sometimes I fell asleep. Why did Jesus go up to the mountain to pray? Also, why did my mother go up to the mountain early in the morning to pray? And also many people who has a prayer request go up to the mountain or go up to the hill of the church. The reason is that there was a prayer title for which they had to pray earnestly. Today's prayer is the first prayer to prepare the way of a cross. After the prayer on the mountain in Transfiguration, Jesus climbed another hill, which is the hill of Gethsemane, to pray for the second time. In Mark chapter 14, verse 36, he prayed like this. He said, Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I want, but what you want. Because Jesus knew the suffering of the cross, he prepared to pray fully about walking that way. The name of the area where Jesus was praying before God is Gethsemane. Gethsemane means as oil press frame for olive oil. Just prayed to God with a heart like the olive oil in the olive press. We can find the human form of Jesus in this scene. Although Jesus was the Son of God, he could feel all the suffering and pain we feel because he came to the earth in the form of a human being like us. That's why he understands us as human better and knows our heart. In fact, the suffering that Jesus would face as a human being was a very great physical pain. The punishment and suffering on the cross were great sufferings that we cannot even imagine. In the movie, The Passion of Christ, released a few years ago, the suffering was described in a way that one could imagine even a little. But even the description was difficult to watch. In fact, Jesus wanted to avoid the cup of suffering. However, deep in the heart of Jesus, he decided to follow the will of Heavenly Father in the end. So we can see that Jesus prayed whenever something important happened. We did the same when he chose his disciples and when he fed many people. Jesus always wanted to trust the Father completely and do his will. By the way, in a very special things in happening during the prayer today. Verse 29 of today's text describes it as follows. And while he was praying, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became dazzling white. As Jesus began to pray, his appearance changed, and Jesus began to shine. Then two people appear before Jesus and started talking with him. These two men in today's text were Moses and Elijah. Verse 31 of today's text, what their conversation was, they appeared in glory and were speaking of his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Moses and Elijah came to tell Jesus the will of God. They told Jesus that he would go to the way and died on the cross. The radiance of light from Jesus means that Jesus was transformed to accomplish God's will. This is a very mysterious event. This mystery aspect appears to those who have decided to live according to God's will and have accepted it. In Exodus 34 testifies that Moses' face shone like the sun when he met with God. It is changed. His appearance is changed. In Matthew chapter 17, verse 2, the parallel text with today's text confesses that Jesus' face shone like the sun. Jesus has changed his appearance. The 4th century Bishop Ambrose said, the mystery of the majesty of the infinite God's glory overwhelms our physical cognition. Even if our physical eyes are sharp, we will not be able to see the light of the sun directly. But this is the light of mystical glory of God. Friends, please remember that the light that Jesus was transformed and radiant is the light that drives away the darkness of this world and saves lives. We need to think about why the two men who appeared before Jesus, Elijah and Moses. The reason is that Moses and Elijah met God on the mountain just like Jesus did today. They experienced the radiant glow like Jesus. So those who want to be truly used by God meet this change. We need to meet with God and change. It is to live a shining life. Why does the moon shine at night? Why do the stars twinkle? The reason is that the sun gives a light, and the moon and stars reflect the sun's light. It is the same with our Christian life. We too must receive the light that God shines on us and reflect the light of God and shine it with others. What kind of light is it? It is a light that illuminates the world. While praying on the mountain in Transfiguration, Jesus was also transformed to shine a light because he reflects the light of God. He accepted God's will, God's mission, and he walked the way of the cross for us. Dear friends, our Christian life is a life of light. So the book of Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1 through 3 says, Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. For darkness shall cover the earth, and thick darkness the people. But the Lord will arise upon you, and his glory will appear over you. Nations shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn. This is our mission. This is our way of life. We must live a life that shines a light in this world. What should we do to live a life that shines with light? First of all, you need to change. You need to change to reflect the light of God. And you must stand right before God. Your faith and life must be straight. You have to let go of your bad addictions and habits. You must take care of family, neighbors, and share comfort and spiritual appearance with spiritually and physically uncomfortable people. You must live as sincere Christians. Of course, it is not easy. We know that the way of the cross is not easy. Today, Jesus decided to walk the way of the cross. Sometimes there are hardships in our lives. Sometimes we will want to give up everything. But let us not forget that only God has called us to shine the light of for His glory. Now, let us try to live a life that shines glory into the world. I hope to pray together for our global neighbors who have suffered difficulties in the world. And also let us pray for our neighbors and families. The light may be large or small, it depends on your life. It is okay. You need to try to shining of reflect and shining of God's lighting. Regardless of the size or God's shining deeper and darker it is, we need to remember. Remember that you are people who have the light of God. So let us think about how can we reflect of God's light into the world, into my family, into the workplace, into with our brothers and sisters. I am blessing all our church members to live a life of shining and sharing the light of God for the world. And all God's people said, Amen.